All right, the next thing is snorkels. Again, for most other equipment, any snorkel is going to work. What we would recommend, or what I would recommend, are the Phoenix snorkels. And the only reason why I would recommend it is because they have a dry tip, just an extra accessory that you can buy and attach to your snorkel. And what this does is when you're swimming and you do those flip turns, usually your snorkel fills up with water, and then as you come up, you have to and you have to spit out all the water to clear your snorkel. But what this dry tip does is, as soon as it submerges, this ball rises to the top and shuts that valve from water coming into your snorkel. And then as you surface, then the ball drops back down, and then you can breathe normally. And so you don't have water coming into your goggles. So that's why I would recommend the Phoenix snorkels, is just because of that extra accessory, the dry top. I haven't seen it with other snorkels. I know they've tried to figure out ways to not have that. I think the Michael Phelps goggles or snorkels have that. I'm not sure, but I would recommend that. Snorkel also has some of the best Phoenix also has some of the best snorkels on the market. So I would recommend Phoenix snorkels too. And then the last thing is nose clips. This is just an extra accessory for those who are backstrokers. There's a whole article on SwimSam that you can look up from Gary Hall Sr. He works with the race club out in California. They have a location in Florida, and he writes a bunch of articles about the science behind swimming for SwimSwam and stuff like that. But he wrote an article about nose clips, and if you go to the pool and sit on a kickboard or two, and just breathe out. And as you breathe out, you'll feel yourself sinking, and then breathe in, and you'll feel yourself float back up to the top. And so it's the same thing with backstroke. When you're underwater and you're doing those kicks and you're blowing air out through your nose, you're going to become heavier in the water, and so you're going to sink, and you actually have to use your kicks harder to get back up, right? And so if you have a nose clip, then you can go down and just use your kicks to just drive forward and then pop up, right? Rather than without a nose clip, then you're sinking, and then you have to use your kicks and go up, right? But on this, with a nose clip, then you're just steady there and then drive up for that breakout. And so it can be uncomfortable for people because they're used to breathing out through their noses and stuff. So I would highly recommend, if you are going to use a nose clip, using it at practice before you meet, way before you meet, and get comfortable with it. You'll see a lot of backstrokers use nose clips, and that's why. It's because you don't become as dense in the water while you're breathing out that air. Now, for other strokes like freestyle, butterfly, and breaststroke, you do want to release that air from your nose. And again, Gary Hall Sr. has an article, and he talks about this, is because those air bubbles, as they get trapped on your body, those air bubbles are going to lift you up. He talks about penguins doing this a lot while they're swimming, and this is why they're so fast, is because they trap those air bubbles in their feathers in their feathers as they're swimming, and that helps drive them and get them faster and more buoyant. And so for the other strokes, freestyle, butterfly, breaststroke, you want to release that air, get those air bubbles trapped under your body, and that's going to help drive your swimming faster. But not for backstroke, because that air just floats up to the top. So I'd highly recommend getting nose clips. There are a bunch of nose clips out there that have padding on it, so it doesn't pinch your nose as much. There's metal ones, plastic ones. Just try it out. Try different ones. There isn't one that I would recommend because they're cheap and they're all pretty much the same. So just try it out and purchase your own and see if you're comfortable with it and if you like it, because that'll help improve your backstroke a lot. Other training gear that I would recommend having in your mesh bag or just using as you're developing as a swimmer, and this is probably for younger swimmers who are still developing and working on a few things, is this. This is a posture trainer by Phoenix, and what you do is you attach it to your head, and then on the back here, this part, if you lift your head, it's gonna touch. Can you hear me? If you lift your head, it's gonna touch the back of your neck of your back. And so if you keep your head straight, then you're not gonna feel it. But as soon as you lift, you're gonna feel that touch. You're gonna feel this part touch the back of your back of your neck. And so this is great to help younger athletes like learn posture in the water, and knowing that you don't want to lift your head up while you're swimming, because if you lift your head up, then your hips drop, and then you're just dragging your hips. So you want to keep your head down, keep your hips high on top of the water. The other thing that I would recommend is getting this. This is also by Phoenix. These are called the Hydro Hips, and what you do is there's a belt here that you attach to your hips, and then you just secure it by pressing down, and that's really tight there. And these paddles sit on the side of your hips, and so you have to drive your hips as you're swimming, and these paddles kind of add as a little resistance to kind of feel yourself driving your hips. And then if you are driving your shoulders faster than your hips, then your hand's going to hit this paddle and you're going to feel that. So you have to drive your hips and then finish that pull. Drive your hips, finish the pull. Drive your hips, finish the pull. So these are great for younger swimmers, kind of learning and developing their strokes, feeling the mechanics and the technique and the form, for having proper rotation and pulling through the water. The last thing that I would recommend is getting a tennis ball. This is great if you can't afford that posture thing. And so what you do is you just kind of hold this tennis ball between your chin and your chest. So you can see that my head's not like down like this, but it's kind of down, and that'll help while you're swimming to keep your head down, because if you lift up, then you lose that ball. So the tennis ball is great to kind of help develop that body alignment, keeping your head down while you're swimming as well. And then actually one more is parachutes. Obviously I'm a big person on resistance training. Any sort of mesh, any sort of resistance, power towers, cords, I would highly recommend doing resistance training in the water, because there's a lot of that translating over into becoming a powerful and better swimmer, rather than being on the land and working on, lifting weights and other dry land exercises. Now, if you're swimming and working on that resistance, then there's a lot that translates over to that. So parachutes, I would highly recommend. Phoenix has one where you can open the bag and close it. So obviously the more open it is, the more water that comes through, less resistance, and the closer it is, it means more resistance. And so you can kind of adjust your resistance as you develop as a swimmer, or whatever it is that you want to work on. So that's what I would recommend for other training gear that you should have in your bag. Yeah.
Nice.